What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me. I'm Titus, and today we're continuing the grind. You know what I mean? So last video I was talking about a lot of plans, and I was thinking about making a raid video today because raid did some stuff that I truthfully felt some kind of way about, but I decided, you know what, at this point, man, I'm enjoying this game. I'm not even gonna think about raid, you know what I mean? So today I kind of thought that I'd go through and kind of show you guys where I'm at and then what my plans are, and hey, maybe you guys can help me out, you know what I mean? Want to give a shout out to all the people in channel 1, people like ISO. You buddy, you've been fantastic. Everyone just kind of teaching me, because what I will say is this game is definitely not raid. Right? This game is definitely not like raid, and I learned that very quickly because obviously a lot of these auto battler gacha games are very similar, right? But there's just so much, this being closer to Summoner's War and everybody constantly talking about that, and it was so confusing to me at first, especially when people would say stuff like, how good is the Wind Popo Rider? And I'm like, Wind? What are you talking about? Wind. But I guess that's like the green or the third affinity in Summoner's War. Or when a lot of times people be like, oh, who's this game's Bastet? And I'm like, ah, yes, Bastet, the Egyptian cat goddess. Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. And funnily enough, just the fact that like most of these champions, when you really look at them, like a lot of these mons, if they were in raid, like even these Nat 3s would be like, a lot of them would probably be account changing legendaries. You know what I mean? The idea that even the lowest rung kind of characters could have so much in their kit. I mean, looking at somebody like Gyrolian, who I've built out as my campaign farmer, and I'm also using him a little bit in the heavy metal dungeon. You know, having block healing on 100% on the A1, defense down on the A2, multi-hitter, and then another multi-hitter with speed down and attack down. I mean, realistically, attack, speed, and defense are like the trifecta of the most important stats in most of these games. So having all of that in one kit, if this was raid, this guy would be a legendary, and people would want him bad. People would be fiending for this guy. So right now, today, so we've got Boxing Club up, and we're farming stage 10, albeit we're farming it kind of slow. Each of our runs is taking about 3 minutes, and I think it's mostly just because I haven't really spent a lot of time trying to optimize. Most of my time, and I'll be honest, I'm trying to grind this game. I don't know if it's just that I'm a slacker, or they just give you so many resources to start with, because I mean, if you see here, I still got 180 batteries. I can't spend these things faster than I'm getting them, right? And even on somewhere like I'm currently doing Secret Base 6, which I guess would be kind of the raid equivalent of 12.3 or 12.6. You know, as you see here, I kind of found this trick, people talking about it, because I have my capsule fully stacked up. So I just threw 3 wisps in there and just filled them with Inspire gear to bump up Gyrolian's attack. And as you can see, he does the run just fine. I also have him in Vampire set so that, you know, he can heal himself. But I don't know if it's a gear issue or a skill issue or maybe a combination of the two, but I cannot get Gyrolian to one-shot these waves. I can get him to 2-shot these waves, and to be fair, I was using the Tree Sharpshooter, and I still stand by Tree Sharpshooter. If she is the only character, or she's the first character you get to 60, which is what I did, I don't think that's a bad investment. She can campaign farm just fine. She She does need a lifesteal set or vampire set to heal herself because all of her attacks are single target. And really the biggest problem about the speed is just like, so you see there, Garolian did that in 50 seconds, and 50 seconds is my best time, right? It literally says that's my best time. Tree Sharpshooter was doing these runs in like a minute and a half, and she was doing them consistently, but you know, like I said, she was very slow because all of her attacks are single target, right? So I know that people have talked about, I mean, even Bookworm, right? So if I go here and we'll go ahead and we'll open this up, and what I just want to do is in the same gear, I'm just going to unequip this. One thing that I will say is very nice about this game, and I don't know if it's going to change anytime soon. It probably will, but one thing I really like about this game is it is so cheap to move gear over that it really, one thing I'm really having a lot of fun with is just testing out new stuff. You know what I mean? Because in Raid, transferring gear over, I mean, you do it on 2 or 3 champions and it literally will bankrupt you. You will lose all of your silver. In Raid, it's silver for those of you watching who haven't played Raid. In Raid, it's silver, and I mean, my God, just trying to re-gear 2 or 3 champions and you're broke. And in this game, I mean, I'd never hesitate to try things out because I know that, I mean, look, 750 gold and I have 1.4 million. So it's like, yeah, test. I love it. Test stuff out. You know what I mean? Test stuff out and work with it. Right. So I know Bookworm, people have talked about Bookworm, Water Sorcerer, who I don't have, so I couldn't even test him out, as like a big nuker. But like even here, Bookworm really doesn't do much better, or probably doesn't even do better than Garolian in general, right? I'd probably have to mess with his AI a little bit, and I have done that with Garolian on these runs just because I noticed that the AI is a little wonky where, for instance, these runs will start wave 1 and Garolian opens up with an A1 single target, right? There's 4 enemies alive. He's got all of his cooldowns, but yet something in the algorithm they use to decide attack order and all that stuff, and Garolian will decide to A1. And I'm like, bro, that's a little weird. So as you can see here, I mean, Bookworm, when he has good gear, he does hit hard. And I definitely think I need to work more on the dungeons for sure. But yeah, as you can see there, it took about a minute. So if you kind of average it out, he's not doing any better or worse really than Garolian, right? So, and in fact, probably if I ran that enough times, he'd just straight up be slower than Garolian. I realize now, because for some reason, so what I didn't realize is when you use the inherent function, it doesn't get rid of the other mod. And I thought it would. I don't know why. Well, I know why I thought it would, is because Raid has a mechanic somewhat similar to the stack effect, where you can plus champions by feeding extra copies, but you lose that champion. So I thought that when you use the inherent thing, you would lose the other champion, but you don't. And so now I have 2 Garolians sitting with like broken sets of gear, and that was very confusing to me. I did realize, however, you can actually save gear sets. So I should probably actually work with that more often, because that would really help me keep track of like where my best sets are, right? Because right now, this vampire set is kind of the best campaign farm set that I can put together. And realistically, even when I was doing Boxing Club, I was still using this set on the Tree Sharpshooter, because what I found was, from testing it last night, and this might be controversial, there might be a little, you know, people might feel a type of way about this, but I actually found that Tree Sharpshooter, for me, for my account where I was and the gear I had, Tree Sharpshooter was actually doing more consistently, was doing better consistently than Bookworm was in terms of killing the boss, because, and I don't think it can be overstated, do not sleep on Tree Sharpshooter because of this passive right here. Attacks ignoring 20% of enemy's defense and adding an additional attack at the end of your turn that scales off of enemy HP, essentially as a execute, right? So the lower health they get, the more damage you deal. That's happening every turn, whereas Bookworm has to cycle his abilities to be able to get to his A3, which is the big ignore defense nuke. For me personally, I noticed Tree Sharpshooter was doing actually more was consistently doing better. Now, I think Bookworm overall, if you have better gear, will still do better because of the waves, because the waves are really what took the majority of the time in my runs, because again, my only DPS, you know, as you can see here, my only DPS is single target. I've just gotten kind of like really lucky with legendaries, and I pulled a Psycho Surgeon, and I hadn't really talked about him much. I was testing him out in Boxing Club. I got rid of Bouncing Joker for him, and I didn't notice much of a difference in the runs. I did notice a bit of a difference in the runs consistency, because I was having a problem where certain people, Sharpshooter and Popo Rider, were dying. Just like if my team got out of sync and I got unlucky with the boss and landed glancing blows at the wrong time, they'd get frozen, and then he'd AoE right afterwards and just pop them, just delete them from the game. I could still finish the runs because Occult Dancer is actually like S tier in my mind for this, because not only is she bringing a bunch of utility through heals and the shielding, healing over time, all those buffs that the dungeon wants you to place so that you don't get the glancing blows, but her A1 is also a max HP smack, and it doesn't deal a ton of damage because I don't have her built to deal a ton of damage, but she does do respectable damage with that A1, especially considering when I was doing like the clan boss. I don't know what the clan boss would be called, or I forget what the survival simulation, right? The Frosty Colossus. If you look at my run, which wasn't super impressive, but I could definitely get a lot more damage out of them, I think. When I looked at the chart at the end, Occult Dancer, so Tree Sharpshooter obviously was my highest damage dealer by a country mile, but Occult Dancer had done about half the damage that Tree Sharpshooter had done, which was insane to me considering all she's doing is A1ing, right? And she's only doing that every once in a while when she doesn't have other cooldowns to use. So, something to keep in mind is, I see a lot of people just asking for the answers, and that's fine, but the game gives you a lot to work with. I mean, test stuff out, you know what I mean? Test out different gear sets, test out different, me personally, knowing how these games work, I will say I am very stingy with upgrading gear. As you can see, I have some 5-star pieces here, but I haven't upgraded this because, right now it's just flat defense, flat HP, and some accuracy percentage, but it's in a fatal crit set. And, thinking to myself, if I want to put 12% crit on somebody, I'm probably not going to want defense and HP percentage. Now, when I'm building a champion, if I'm really desperate for HP and defense percentage, I will scale this rune, or, whatever they call it in this game. But generally speaking, I'm not doing it preemptively. I don't roll gear unless I absolutely need it. Because 9 times out of 10, unless it's like a drop dead gorgeous piece, I mean, this would be better, right? Because this is a crit set and it has crit rate and crit damage. It would be nice, but also defense percentage ain't bad because there are nukers who scale off defense. So this piece right here, even though it is 4-star, I might be more likely to scale up, you know what I mean? To rank up. And then I'm usually very lazy about clearing my gear out because, I mean, sometimes I just can't be bothered. If I'm being honest, it's like the least fun part of any game, any of these games, right? Is just having to do a gear cleanse. And in Raid, it's ugh. That's why I'm always kind of hovering around max gear, because a lot of times I just cannot be bothered. So enough faffing about. We got the boxing club. We've been delving into heavy metal. We got to stage 7. This is the team that I've put together. So I have Water Hog Rider, because she's got the remove all debuffs on allies, heal and crit dampen, which is really nice. Garolian, of course, because he's great for waves. He's bringing so many debuffs, especially speed down, attack down, and defense down on the boss. I mean, come on, what else would you, what other abilities and debuffs are standard to that stuff, right? Attack down, defense down, and speed down all in one kit. Insane. Then I clicked on her by accident. I was using Fire Popo Rider because I didn't have Light Popo Rider, and they literally do the same exact thing on the A2. The only difference is, and a lot of people were saying, you know, oh, Light Popo Rider got nerfed. I read the patch notes. Now, I could be wrong, and it is technically a nerf because the champion got a little bit weaker. However, it did not look like they nerfed her. It looked like they fixed her because she was bugged and was not actually working the way she was supposed to work. Speed down on all allies and action bar decrease. You know what I mean? This boss is susceptible to action bar decrease. All the little totem guys that sit on the sides are also susceptible to it. So if you can just constantly reduce their turn meter, they don't get to take a turn and you just kill them. And then the blind, very nice for the boss for getting for a chance of glancing hits. I also have Engineer Robot here, just because he shortens the debuff duration on allies by 1 turn, and then adds a healing over time for the weakest ally. So it's basically more cleanse, right? But I'll be honest, I'm thinking maybe the only reason I haven't taken out Engineer Robot is because he has a big heal. He also has a 1 turn cooldown reduction on his A2, and his A1 strips buffs, which is very important for this boss because you want to be able to strip the shield and strip the immunity to make sure that he can't do it. Because the reason I'm kind of hard stuck at B7 realistically is probably because most of these guys are not very well geared. You know what I mean? They're not sitting. I mean, Hog Rider's okay. Garolian is sitting in one of my best sets right now, but I would probably change that out for an actual more offensive set. Popo Rider, again, she's missing a rune right there. And this guy I could probably min-max him a little bit in terms of maybe giving him more health, a little more his accuracy. Sorry, not accuracy, speed. Because his accuracy is ridiculous. He's almost at 100% capped out accuracy. And then of course, Engineer Robot, his gear is absolute buns. For Death Lab, I have this setup where I have Fire Sharpshooter. She's nice because even though the boss is immune to action bar decreasing effects and increasing effects, I will say this boss of the 3 is like the hardest by far. He's got a lot of stuff going on. Protective Scales, I want to say, unless it's bugged, buff strip does not work on this. So you're not double dipping so there's no reason to bring a buff stripper. There's no reason to bring anybody who increases action bar. There's actually not a real reason to build your champions particularly fast either. However, I will say there is, unless this is talking about speed as well, which it doesn't seem to be from what I've tested early, but let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, because if I am, I'd like to know. That way I don't keep feeding into it. But increased speed is good, but anything that increases action bar and anything that decreases action bar, anything like that, completely useless, right? Also, anything that blocks revive, useless. Blocking healing, I think, works. So that's something to consider. But block revive doesn't work. Also, I believe it's this one. No, it's not this one. It's this one, the taunt. So I've basically tried to build a team where I always have immunity up, speed up for us, speed down for the boss, defense down. She also, of course, all the occult dancers have this, is that HP based scaling smack, which is nice. She can also, one thing I found out actually, I'll let you guys on peep game for a second. I'll let you guys on a little secret. Extend the duration of all buffs and debuffs. Now in Raid, we have this, right? We have extend, debuff, and buff. However, when you extend buffs, there are certain buffs that can never be extended. Those being immunity and unkillable. In Raid, it's block damage and unkillable, and I believe in this game it's immunity and what is it? It's immunity and it's invincible and unyielding. They work the exact same way. Invincible blocks all damage, and invincible or unyielding is you can never be brought below 1 HP, right? In Raid, you cannot increase those buffs duration because I guess in their minds it would be too easy to make an unkillable team. In this game, you can increase the duration of invincible, at least invincible. I haven't been able to test unyielding, but invincible, you absolutely can. If you time it correctly, you can increase the duration of invincible, means that this goes from a 2-turn invincible to a 3-turn invincible. That is interesting, and I'm probably, for the Colossus, I'm probably going to run these two together in like all of my teams. As in Raid, we have similar things, and I'm sure in Summoner's War they did too, you know, kind of like those daily or weekly bosses that you have to, you know, work as a guild to kill. And in Raid, we have popular variations of those teams known as unkillable teams, where they basically function because rather than trying to min-max, oh, how much damage can my team heal, you know, bringing defense up, it's like, I have a buff here that says I'm invincible or unkillable or whatever, and I'm just gonna use that. Now, of course, actually, just like in Raid, the boss, once they hit 50 turns, they start ignoring that stuff. And they do the same in Raid, and then at that point, it's just trying to do as much damage as you can within those 50 turns, right? Outside of that, I've got Steel Wing. This is just more debuff removal, and he's bringing immunity as well, which is really nice. He's also bringing the Incurable, the 0 or 100% debuff, or sorry, the 100% healing debuff. And then he can also heal with his A1. I've never seen the AI do it, but that's kind of how I read this, is like you can attack enemies or allies, and if you attack allies, they heal. This guy, Sorcerer, has been a GOAT. I think for most of my PvE teams, he's going to find a home because this Invincible is just really good. He also, on the A2, has a Silence. Not good for bosses, but is good for wave content. And then he has a Stun on the A1, which is also good for waves. Now, the only odd duck. Now, as you can see, I've only gotten to stage 3, but that's because half these guys don't even have gear on them. I was thinking about Gunslinger. Now, the reason I'm thinking about Gunslinger is because he has a chance to increase his own buffs. He also deals a lot of damage. He has a chance to ignore defense on all of his hits with this ability. But the big one was this A2. So on the A2, he brings Paralysis, which does affect bosses. Or it looked like it affected bosses, but maybe I could be wrong. No, this boss can be affected by Paralysis. He's also bringing Speed Down. So we have another instance of Speed Down being brought. And he's also bringing Block, which means that he can't. Now, I was hoping that this would stop protective scales. That's actually why I brought him, was because in my mind, I was like, okay, every time the boss takes a turn, they are going to put up protective scales, right? That's kind of how this dungeon works. And I thought to myself, if I can block it, then I can, ignore that, right? And just keep dealing damage. And the boss will revive himself once, and more so if, God forbid, anybody dies. I want to say that I have not, even though the block buff goes up, if you read protective scales, and we'll read it right now. If you read protective scales, these special effects, it evades a certain number of attacks, right? Maybe it was under the boss itself. Thought it was under that buff, but it might be under the boss itself. When all scales are destroyed, the scales generate next time. Okay, I'm trying to remember where I read it, because it's in here somewhere. But it basically said that it cannot be affected by traditional. It actually tells you it can't be affected by traditional buff effects. Right? This I like. It just kind of shows the team. So of course this guy just ran a whole fire team, Troll Gaming TV, and he did the run in about 2 minutes. So it looks like I'm pretty much on the right path, and I might just switch out. Is this the light steel wing? It is the light steel wing. And this is light Popo Rider, but you could bring fire Popo Rider. She wouldn't be terrible. And this is light Pumpkin Freak, which I don't have. But the fire one, I believe, works somewhat similar, except his A3 has a poison on it. So that's only the real difference between what I'm working with and what these guys are working with. And you know, it's funny because I've tried to do my best to not look at other content creators and other people and see what they're doing, because I want to do my own thing. And kind of that's like the best part of these early game kind of things, is that, you know, giving yourself the room to test stuff out and try stuff. You know what I mean? So I could probably trade him out for Fire Popo Rider, and I might just straight up have better. I might just have a better time with it, personally. And like I said, I'm trying to figure out, because I read somewhere that, oh, okay, there it goes. It's literally, this type of effect is not affected by effect resistance, accuracy, or immunity effects, and cannot be removed by general removal methods. So that means any buff strip can't actually get rid of protective scales. Now, the block, if we just go over here and we look at block, he was the only person I had besides Water Pumpkin Freak. And so I was thinking, man, I really would like to bring that, but I don't actually think it works. So I might just sub him out for somebody with more multi-hits, because I think the multi-hits right now are the big thing. I know some people have tested out like the fire bouncing Joker. And I will say the bouncing Jokers, pound for pound, are kind of like the occult dancers and the sharpshooters. They can find a home in pretty much any place in the game, as long as they're proper affinity for it. So I really like him, but I don't think I'm going to use him. I think I might use, let me see. This would be nice, defense up and stealth. Having defense up would be great. Taunt would be useless. Stun, I think, would be useless, because I don't think the totems, I know the boss can't be stunned. I don't think the totems can either. So that might be a moot point. Let's see, Annihilator, attack up, defense up, blind, damage over turn, and more damage over turn. Which also is kind of a moot point, because the boss can't be poisoned. So that really wouldn't matter anyway. And I don't know if I want to try and force water affinity people in. I had thought about the fire bookworm. He looks insane in terms of just being able to nuke. But I don't know. That's really it. The 5th slot is kind of is kind of all over the place. Engineer Robot is fun. But he does inflict a burn to himself, but he brings a lot of stuff. Speed up, attack up, immunity up, and he also, of course, has like all the the other water engineer robot, the big heal with the cooldown effect and the buff removal, but that's actually not that useful either. Fire Pumpkin Freak. So he's got a 3-hitter, 2-turn defense down, 2-turn speed. He also has a 2-hitter on his A1 with a defense down, so he's just, you're pretty much guaranteeing defense down. And then his A3, he places damage over time, but that wouldn't affect the boss. It wouldn't affect the boss. I do have Dark Pumpkin Freak. I do somewhere. I know for a fact I do. I need to clear out, I think, some of my mons. I need to defeat. Yeah, okay, I do. So he's got buffs, shields, okay, 2-turn hitter, 2-time hitter, effect up, and more healing and buff. Is that buff remote? No. Effect. Okay, so accuracy buff, HP recover, and then turn meter. So he probably wouldn't really fit in here either. He probably would not fit in here either. Ooh, what about Garolian? Did Garolian work? Incurable. That's good because we, you know. Restore HP and immunity. He's bringing attack up, but the action bar stuff is wasted. But I don't think we have an attack up person. We have defense down, speed up, debuff reduction, and buff fill. Okay. We have immunity, which is always good. Incurable, which we do need. This is crit up and ally attack, but she's basically in defense down. She's just here because she's the best way we have to get rid of all the protective scales. She does so many attacks. Immunity, invincible, silence, stun. Okay, so we don't have attack up. However, I don't know if she's the best attack up we got. Rolling, because other than that, they're not bringing out anything we don't really have. Fire Pumpkin Freak wouldn't be bad as more defense down, speed down. We actually didn't have speed down, we have speed up. Fire Popo Rider, realistically, actually is probably our best bet here, which is fine because then we're double dipping. We also have this chick here, Iron Fist, Fire Iron Fist. Removes all debuffs on all allies and grants them 3-turn immunity, which is good. Action bar increases wasted. Then we have defense down. So realistically, she's not bringing anything we don't already have. And she's not built yet. So maybe Fire Popo Rider, because Fire Popo Rider is going to bring the speed down. And action bar doesn't matter. She's going to bring a big smack and a blind. So Fire Popo Rider might be the play here. Yeah. All right. So that's the team we're going to run. We're going to try it out and see how far we can get. Underground Vegas and Anonymous HQ, we haven't really touched much yet, but we will be looking forward to that. Other than that, I'm doing a lot of campaign farming right now just because getting those capsules is so easy that I really, at least for now, and I don't know because this stuff might stay, right? This might always be, but the way my brain is kind of processing it is I'm spending a lot of my time more so in campaign than anything else because I want to take advantage of being able to buy these 2-star wisps so that I can basically build up my account. And then once the event is over in a couple of days, then hard grind the dungeons, because then it's like, okay, I've built up 30 champions. Now it's time to gear them. And then once I've done that, I could probably finish everything in the game, right? So that's what I'll be doing, looking to move forward. Let me know what you guys think. I really love the help that you guys give me, both in the comment section, in the videos, in channel 1. I might start live streaming again. I live streamed once not too long ago, and I thought it was cool. I just didn't get a lot of views and there wasn't a lot of people to interact with. And not to mention, it's hard to build up a stream schedule because of how busy I've been these days. But I really would love to try and get back into streaming, maybe doing like recording, do a quick edit and a thumbnail, post a video, then stream from then on. So let me know what you guys think about that. Other than that, thanks for joining me today. If you liked the video, go ahead and leave a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, all that juicy YouTube stuff. It really helps out the channel, helps grow it, and it really means a lot to me. I appreciate you guys joining me today. I've been Titus, and until next time, I'll see you.